October 1st, 1971. Disney World opens in Orlando, Florida. The initial attractions include the rapidly thawing body of Walt Disney. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And joining us is not just a hilarious comic and the host of a lot of great shows, but also our very first guest ever.
Yeah.
Please welcome back Kira MagCalen to the show.
Hello.
A blast from the past. You know what else is from the past?
All these stories?
Spooky ghosts and ghouls and bone men.
Yes, bone men. Yes, different from skeletons, which is what anyone in the world calls them.
Skeletons are not alive. Bone men are.
There's bone women, too.
There are bone women, too. You know what? Most of the defining traits, however, have fallen away. It is
true.
It is tricky to tell a bone man from a bone woman.
Yeah, you can still do it, though. It's not ribs, though. They're wrong about that.
It's very invasive, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already bones. Isn't like everything kind of invasive when you're just your ribs are just floating empty?
There's bubbles here.
Brian, why do you think I'm talking so much about ghosts and ghouls and bone men?
Because this is the first episode in our annual Halloween Spooktacular, where instead of our there's a ghost in here. Spiders. There's
a ghost in here every week. We just let her get on mic on the spectacular episodes.
Every year we talk about spooky stories from history, some more macabre tales, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of like
gloomy,
like vampire, like husky tales. It's like dog tales with capes.
Oh, adorable. Yeah. Or just like a skeletonized dog tail.
Yeah, just that's kind of sad.
A bone man dog tail?
Yeah. Wait, so they're bone men dogs?
Yeah, bone men dogs.
That sounds like a great folk band. Bone man dog.
It at least sounds like a banjoist.
Yeah, or like things a small child names when they're sitting in a yard for too long.
Yeah, a small child who's also probably possessed a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, if you're not familiar, each episode on this show, we take a topic from history. One of us gives the official version of events, and another comes up with an alternate history. And the winning story becomes the truth. Last episode, we talked about Queen Liliuokalani of Hawaii with Jacob Rupp. If you listen to that, you'll know that the actual history won out. Thanks again to Jacob Rupp for filling in very last minute on that.
Mm-hmm.
And this week, as the first episode of our Spooktacular series, we are talking about the Dyatlov Pass Incident.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun.
Chains. Sound of
also sounds kind of like a band name. The
Dyatlov
Pass Incident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go to that band.
No,
that sounds like something
so
like...
I feel like that's a band that has a standard Friday.
They were
gig
like kind
of
big for a while in the 90s.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. Are you thinking of just like string cheese incident?
Yeah, I might just be thinking of string cheese.
Mixed with like what?
Which translates. Yeah. If only. What a super group they would form.
Oh, yes. Let's mash together just two bands and call it a super group.
The fans are clamoring.
The surviving members of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and what? The Eagles, I guess?
Hey, Fire Eagles sounds like a fine band.
Yeah, I guess. Or Eagle Wind, which sounds like some sort of retirement home.
It sounds like somebody who is making a movie for the Sci-Fi Network has to name a Native American place. Eagle Wind. It's called Eagle Wind.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Shark Wind was already taken, I guess.
Yeah, and Sharkwind too.
Which is, of course, a child's name.
Yeah.
Not Junior or the second.
Sharkwind is the precursor to the Sharknado.
Yeah.
It's much more mild.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the Shark Rain.
Yeah.
They don't get all excited when they announce a shark wind on the news.
Not so much.
Expect a mild shark wind coming in from the northeast.
Yeah.
Nurse shark, maybe a tiger shark if it gets serious. Why is that my weather person impression?
Yeah.
He's very, very hoity-toity. That way. He doesn't really care about his job.
I don't need to be doing
Brian's workshopping his new character.
Of course.
The unengaged weatherman.
I don't know, maybe rain or something. I don't know, guys. What are you doing later?
These devices aren't very precise.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm checking my Twitter.
He's checking the weather on the Twitter.
Yeah.
He calls it the Twitter.
Well, I'll tell you, the folks involved with the Dyatlov Pass Incident could have used a good weatherman.
Oh.
Might have saved them.
Well, that's one
A
hell
lot
of a
of trouble.
segue.
Yeah.
Well, this week, Zach, you're doing the actual history,
That's true.
and Kira, you're doing the alternate.
Or am I?
Wait, was I supposed to write one?
No,
Shit.
no. No, I maintain that what I am gonna say is the truth.
That
So
God's honest truth.
yeah.
fair enough. And who was there to judge?
No God.
No God, certainly. We live in a universe void of all compassion.
True.
Oh
yeah.
wow. This did get dark.
Listeners, if you take one thing from this show,
This is
Yeah.
a different kind of Halloween special. Don't be afraid
Listen
of
to
monsters.
this horrific tale and know that these people died with the universe indifferent to their suffering.
well, Zach, if you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
The Dyatlov Pass Incident, which you may have guessed already, takes place in a little place called Russia.
Very small.
Very small.
Hard to find on a map.
Yeah. This was in early 1959. A group of 10 folks from the Ural Polytechnical College, which I love. It sounds so modern. I didn't know they had polytechnical colleges back in the late 50s in Soviet Russia.
Of course.
It sounds like they'd have late night commercials.
They do,
Yeah, totally. It sounds,
Well, yeah, but
it sounds like a DeVry sort of for-profit college scheme.
Yeah. And I feel like it would be even more like come off even more as a scam because they'd all be in thick Russian accent. You come to your all Polytechnical Institute. Go to mountains and die.
Wait, don't say that part.
I'm spoiling the story a little bit.
I mean, it's a Halloween story. We got to assume somebody dies.
Yeah, maybe they just got a lot of candy.
And I mean, they're Russians from the 50s. They are probably dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Group of 9 students and their teacher, Igor Dyatlov, decided to take a hike that would last a couple of weeks to a nearby mountain called Oat Orton or something like that.
Mount Torton.
Mount
basically.
Torton, yeah.
Oh, I am not going to try to say that in my version.
So they set off. They went to this village outpost, which was the furthest north village in that region of Russia to start their journey. And north of that, it was largely uninhabited, though there were apparently some old Mansia tribes, kind of people that Russia had largely subjugated in the centuries prior, but there were some living in the mountains. And they headed off, and initially things went fine for the first few days. One of them got sick, a man named Yuri Yudin, and went home like a little bitch.
Smart
Wow,
little
it
bitch.
took you a lot to say that.
I
Yeah.
don't say that word very often, to be honest with you.
But of course,
I
it's
like
merited
that you
here.
like.
This narrative,
Of course.
You like-
This is the occasion that demands
all
it.
historical accounts describe the man as a little. It's like when you're reading like Huckleberry Finn, and you're like, I don't usually, but
See, that's why I like Wiener. Like I like. I'm taking bitch back and replacing it with Wiener because
yeah, okay.
that's
Yeah.
the feminist equivalent.
dub it
Little
in.
Wiener.
I've been
Brian, I'm
little-
gonna get a clean take of me saying wiener. You could just dub it over. Wiener.
Of course.
Great.
I'm gonna make that a ringtone. Just anytime I get a text from Zach.
Yeah, because that's what I call you usually. It's a reference to Anthony Weiner, who is a firebrand, but then later became gross. But the nickname was given when he was cool. Too much backstory. So they make their way.
Not enough front story.
Yeah.
Anthony Weiner.
Oh no.
So
Sorry.
conditions deteriorate for our intrepid heroes, and they are essentially caught in a whiteout blizzard. And because they're basically unable to see, and because the punishing winds, like it gets down to negative 25 degrees at points. And Fahrenheit. I know we're in Russia, so you probably have to clear that up. They probably use a different Kelvin. I don't know what they.
Potatoes.
Yeah, negative 25 potatoes.
Just the tears
Yeah.
that you still have inside of you.
Yes, a widow's tears.
Yeah.
Measured in frozen widow's tears. Davida Latka has cried 25 frozen. It's kind of a Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, Dracula. Secondly, did you name the widow Latka?
Yeah.
You're real potato heavy. Like heat would be like blood of enemies.
Yeah.
Cold would be widow's tears. I think is the Russian system
that
of
makes sense.
temperature.
That makes sense to me. I mean, yeah. Or the red of the communist flag for heat. Anyways, I'm all over the place tonight. So in these whiteout conditions, they went off course and ended up on ascending the slopes of a mountain nearby, which was called Kolat
Shekel.
Kolat Shekel.
I don't even know how to phrase.
You're like half Dracula, half Yakov Smirnoff, I feel like.
Should I continue that for the entire anyways, so they start to ascend this mountain, and eventually they realize their mistake, and they can either go back down to the tree line where it'd be a little safer to camp out through the night, but the accounts seem to agree that probably the guy leading the expedition, Igor, didn't want to lose the altitude they had gained. So they decided to camp on the side of the mountain. And everything up to this point is actually fairly well documented. There are diaries. There are even photos of them setting up camp. And after that, nothing is documented. And that's when the Blair Witch shit started happening.
Yeah.
As you
feel
could
like
argue is happening already.
That makes
starts
it
slow.
seem like so much more of a setup if someone's like, we're documenting, like, everything's normal, guys, and then it just, like, cuts off.
Totally
because,
fine. Nothing
Yeah.
up my sleeve.
It would have been
I'm a Yeti.
a disappointing movie if that had been how they handled the Blair Witch. Like, we're going to find the Blair Witch. So far, everything's fine. Cut to black, they died.
Oh, that's like The Devil Inside, basically.
Yeah.
A little bit. Which is a movie that ends with a car crash and then a crawl that says, if you want to see what happened after that, go to this website.
Oh, no.
Wow, that's amazing.
You sounded like you believed that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
Also-
late night infomercial.
Well, everybody go
for
to
your old Polytechnic Institute.
everybody go to devilinsidetruth.com.
It's totally related to this.
Totally.
That's actually what happens on that website is it just plays this podcast. And that's
weird because it hasn't been recorded yet.
spooky.
Very
Spectacular.
A few weeks later, that was the night of February 2nd, 1959, and the hikers never returned. And Igor had even explicitly told his friends that if you don't hear from us in 2 weeks, you should probably be worried. Some foresight on his part. And
Well, yeah, we're going into the map. That's like a legitimate thing to say when you're going into the
I don't
map.
I
I
feel
feel
like
like you
2
don't
weeks is
need-
generous. Well,
Yeah.
it's the 50s. They don't have like GPS and phones.
yeah, I think it was supposed to be like a 10-day expedition. If they had a Gilligan's Island theme instead of a 3-hour tour.
A 10-day expedition,
Yeah.
which doesn't scan at all.
So a few weeks later, they sent teams to try and look for these people. And initially, they find the campsite. The tent is covered in snow. You'd expect that. But it's also ripped open from the outside. And there are...
Sorry, I believe it's from the inside?
well, it's certainly ripped open. My source I saw seemed to indicate it might have been from the outside, but possibly from the... It's hard to tell, maybe. Anyways.
There was a giant slash.
There's also a bunch of clothes strewn about, like warm clothes that had just been left around, and a few footprints that appear to have been made by barefoot people. And nearby, down closer to the tree line there, they find the bodies of 5 of the 9 people, frozen to death, and all in their underwear or about that amount of clothing. And a tree which had broken branches up to about 15 or 16 feet up the tree that were not explained. Either something broke them or somebody tried to climb the tree for some reason. The rest of the bodies were not found for another few months. But eventually, a few hundred feet in another direction from the campsite, they found these other 4 bodies, which had been, like, their heads had been smashed in and their chests pushed in. One of them had no tongue, which they think maybe she bit it off in a moment of fright. but also no eyes.
Yeah.
Which usually
Ugh.
you can't get rid of in a moment of fight by blinking too hard.
Can't get rid of.
These pesky eyes. I don't need
I'm so
them for
scared.
this.
I don't want my eyes right now.
And they determined that, like, whatever caused these injuries had to have the force of, like, a high-speed car crash or a really serious fall. Some people thought an avalanche, or maybe they fell, but there was just no evidence of any of that. And there were no tracks of other people or animals to be seen. And so, like, some people blamed the tribes that kind of live in that area, but again, absolutely no evidence. And these wounds don't match up with what a human would do. As for the accounts of the people there, the journals and all that, they were actually taken by the Russian government for about 40 years and not released. They were eventually released in, I guess, the 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Yeah. And large parts were redacted or pages were missing from the accounts, like paragraphs and pages were missing from these first-hand accounts.
You think sometimes the Russian government is just like corrupt as a hobby, though? Like it was something really tame, just like one person, like, I wonder if Dubinia likes me. And they were just like, this is a secret for the ages now.
Yeah, it's like, Dear Petrov, and it's just like a black redacted sheet. It's like, I'll never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if you have a skill, you just want to, like, if you feel like you're good at something, you just want to keep it up.
Yeah. Just redacting.
Yeah, you don't want to
is-
let it get stale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, corruption and of course stupidity. You just need to let that little light shine.
Sure.
Whatever that means. It doesn't mean a thing.
I mean, but that's the thing about the true story about the Dyatlov Pass incident. Oh, one other thing. The mountain, or Tenton?
A Torton.
A Torton was named by the Mancia people. The name translates to "don't go there," which is
also the name of the Mancia sitcom.
yeah,
Set on the mountain.
yeah. It was.
Yeah.
It's a lot less menacing when you realize it was an '80s family sitcom.
Yeah, it was right. It was in the range of What a Dummy.
It was just a really sassy Sasquatch that lived on the mountain.
Hence the name.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Kolat Shaikel is also a Mancia name that translates to Mountain of Death or Dead Mountain. Mm-hmm. So, not the most enticing names.
Yep.
But that's the thing about the real story is we don't really know what happened to these people. The
Yeah.
hypothermia ones, there are accounts in real life of people getting cold and having this mania where they take off all their clothing. It
there
has
is.
happened. And
Sorry.
then they die.
If only there'd been some sort of sign or suggestion that maybe their hiking trip could have been a bad idea
If
by,
only.
I don't know, people who lived in that area. It
Right.
seems like they'd have something to do.
There are also like numerous crazy ass theories as to
Oh, of course, yeah.
what happened here. One.
Yo, go ahead.
No, go ahead if you want to. It's your history.
Conjecture-
Don't be polite, it's a podcast.
I haven't repeated them much because conjecture is not my job in this podcast. But if you want to share one,
Well, I mean, the conjecture is part of the history, I feel like, but one of the ones that is sort of given some heft by the idea that the records were so spotty was that the Russian military was testing out like ultrasonic weapons or things that could induce panic reactions, or just that the winds passing through the mountains created like a supersonic effect. That,
Do we know what class they were taking in college, by the way? Like, what were their degrees?
I don't know. What were they majoring in?
Yeah, it was
I don't know, probably graphic design.
yeah. They were unnecessary
I
enough.
mean, it's Polytechnic Institute. It's probably all criminal justice.
yeah.
But it's Russian criminal justice, though, so that's
Which is
probably just...
it's criminal injustice is
Yeah,
what it is.
that they were taking something like poetry so that at least their untimely death saved them from a lifetime of frustrating job prospects.
Just dying in the cold is slightly more sad than reaching the top of the mountain and
Yeah.
just like, living in the cold.
Yeah,
I mean, if they went to Ural Polytechnic, they probably majored in dying in the cold.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it was a very popular course in Russia at the time.
Yeah, because it was the only classroom that had heat.
I mean,
Dying in the cold
I
is
heard
the only heated
Stalin
classroom.
sponsored a lot of those courses.
Yeah, they used his textbook for kindling.
Oh, that's right. They did a lot of... There was also radiation on all their clothing, though, wasn't there? That was like...
Oh, I don't recall reading
I don't
that.
recall reading that either, but it's possible.
That might have been one of the unconfirmed things, I want to say, though. So I had trouble finding a lot of the more factual things to base this off of.
Oh, what, the non-Yeti based ones? Yeah. Yeti is
Yeah.
also another popular one.
Yep, I read a lot about the Yetis.
Of course, personal favorite of mine, Wendigos.
Wendigos, of course.
To get a Wendigo reference on every podcast now by contractual obligation.
Of course, your 10th one is free.
Oh, do you have like a punch card system?
Yeah, sorry. Let me give that to you. It's shaped like a Wendigo's head.
I get a free witch.
Really? It seems like you get something better than that.
Well, it's witch with T's, so it's
No.
You get...
he gets a lady in a pointy hat or like
She's a double witch.
yeah.
Wait, what does that mean?
I don't know. She like scares other witches.
Yeah,
curses
she
other
can
witches?
she can
Oh,
only
so she's
hex
like Dexter.
supernatural creatures.
Yeah, she's a witch Dexter.
Yeah. So if anyone's cursing you, you can call the witch to
Oh my god.
take off.
Oh my gosh, she's like a white hat.
I want witch to follow Don't Go There on this TV lineup.
And of course, Russian television.
The one channel they get has 2 shows on it, and that's
Characters not welcome.
All right, season 2, she goes after Baba Yaga. It's great.
Zach, thank you. Kira, if you're ready with
Okay.
your take on events.
My pretty sparse take on events. All right. So there was a group of hikers, and the thing about the story is they weren't hikers.
I would have liked it if you had started with there wasn't a group of hikers, and that was it.
Go to bed.
I mean, that was a lot of
Redacted.
like, yeah. My entire segment is just like a black square of sound. So they weren't hikers; they were hackers. That was what they were
Like the
studying. Yeah, at the Polytechnical Institute, they were developing the first computers to make the first computer programs, and they had to do this in the mountains because computers were really big back then and they needed better cooling systems. So where are you going to go to keep your giant processors cool?
Of course.
The mountain of death.
Siberia.
Yeah. So anyways, this little team goes to the mountains and sets up their supercomputers, which is where the radiation comes from. Obviously.
Of course, because we all know computers run on radiation.
Yeah, these ones did. But what Dyatlov and his student team didn't know was that they would accidentally break into the Matrix and rip the frame between the virtual world and the real world. And that happened inside their tent.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, so when you say Matrix, are you using that as a general term or as in like the Keanu Reeves movie, specifically that Matrix where we're all batteries?
Sort of both. But instead
Two
of
things that are the opposite of each other.
yeah, so instead of the world being overtaken by computers, they hacked into an alternate reality where the world was taken over by Yetis. Highly technically sophisticated Yetis or Sasquatches.
So cyber yetis.
Yes. As they're known by their Latin name, the Cyber Yeti.
Of course.
So a lot of the sustained damage was from Cyber Yeti agents who, I don't know if you remember, from the Matrix were able to bend space and time, so they never had to touch the ground, so they never left any footprints.
Sure.
And created all manners of mayhem in attempting to subdue this team of hackers who, of course, had to fight back because, I mean, reality and humanity was at stake.
Yeah,
Sure.
So...
you
They,
can't let a bunch of cyber yetis win.
yeah, no, they have a,
As new overlords go, I think cyber yetis pretty good.
Like on what scale? How are you measuring that?
yeah, I mean,
What's cooler than a cyber yeti?
Oh, it's just by coolness?
Yeah.
Then yeah, cyber yeti all the way.
Like a bone man?
see, it's just like the batteries that were powering the robot civilization in the Matrix movies. Instead of powering robots, they were powering like Yeti-based commerce.
Oh, well, so they have like commerce and they have an economy.
Oh yeah, they're actually like highly civilized. If you go over there, like this is one of those stories where like crap, I can't remember the name of it, but like we're the monsters in this one. They're actually like
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, they're very, very peaceful creatures, the cyber yetis, and they put us all in these little bubbles because we were just awful and like into.
Yeah, it's like every other 3 Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah, the original ending of I Am Legend.
Yeah, that was what I was going for. I Am Legend, except with cyber yetis, who were also.
I Am Legend, except with cyber yetis.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But they're like vegan and pacifist, so they didn't murder all the humans. They just put us.
But they're
in
just
little...
impossible to have a conversation with.
Yeah, we're just the the bone men in the closet as far as they're concerned. They don't talk about it. They're not comfortable with it, but they had to do
Are we just
something
saying
about
bone
it.
men now is no matter which history gets accepted, bone men is now the thing.
I think bone men are everywhere. I think they're inside of everyone. There's a whole.
There's a little bit of bone man in all of us.
Yeah, that's another conspiracy. So the injuries sustained were from the force of the cyber yetis, not from them specifically, because as I mentioned, they're pacifists. But the bending of space and time really did a number on their skulls and stuff.
That's why every episode of what was it, Sliders, ended with their skulls getting crushed.
Yeah,
I feel like if you bend time and especially space in the same place where your skull is, that's probably not good.
yeah, it leaves blunt force trauma, very similar to what would happen in an avalanche, except for without leaving the evidence of snow.
The avalanche's first mistake. That Columbo episode where the avalanche did it.
Just one more question, Avalanche. I noticed a bunch of snow in the crime scene. Run.
Yeah. Just down another hill, committing another avalanche.
Oh, caught in the act. Well,
Yeah.
this case is closed. Columbo, eh? See? It's getting further and further away.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think I covered all the major. I don't know if you have any questions.
So
but-
wait, like the cyber yetis, when they're bending space and time and they accidentally kill all the people, or they're just like, oh man.
They're a little morally conflicted about it. They held a funeral service, but I don't know if you know this in Yeti culture, part of their funeral process involves removing the tongue and eyes because they come with you into the next life. That's your ability to see through
And taste, of course, the beautiful flavors of the afterworld.
Yeah, that's all the physical form you have in the afterlife is you're just a tongue and some eyes, so you can make sure you taste the right
The
things.
Cyber Yeti Afterlife has a lot of ice cream.
Oh, wow.
And
You
it's
think they want something warm.
It's Neapolitan, so you have to see which one you're going
Yeah.
for.
I mean, it's a beautiful dream, Neapolitan ice cream. What we should all aspire to.
All ice creams living in harmony. I mean, that's all the Cyber Yetis want is harmony.
And of course, there's just strawberry sitting there on the outside.
Yeah, but I mean, strawberry's the one that you put in its own little battery pack. Strawberry ice cream is completely unconscious. As opposed to, like, I cannot extend this metaphor the way I wanted to.
The chocolate
I
and
was going for
vanilla
it.
remind us of different races living together, and the strawberry reminds us we all have the same blood inside.
And that it can be extracted from both races and put
so
on the
watch
side.
yourself.
Yeah.
What?
Well, because they're sitting next to each other, so there's brown, white, and then all of our blood sitting on the side of all the races.
Oh.
Oh, hey.
The door just got forced open and a black cat walked in. Not just a black cat, but like my black cat.
Yeah,
So, just
you know.
for extra spooktacular.
This is part of the Matrix. They're letting us know. Like I said, my history is the correct one. I maintain it as perfectly true. And like, you remember that thing about deja vu, and you see the cat twice, and that's like a glitch in the Matrix. This is the glitch right here.
Seeing the cat once. Cats are just glitches.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Kira, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So it falls to me to judge for this episode, and I feel like because it offers a more plausible explanation for what happened than any other history can offer, I'm sort of inclined to go with the Cyber Yeti alternate history.
See, I think
Obviously.
because I also want that to be able to pop up.
I cannot be mad at you with this one. This one is begging for the alternate to be accepted because What's the real history tell you? We don't really know.
Yeah. Like, clearly. And also, we want to, like, garner favor with the Cyber Yetis because they're reasonable. I was going to say people, but they're not people. But they're
Humanoids.
Yeah.
Sort of.
They have empathy, so maybe if they know that we take their side, they know.
Really, they're the best of us, the Cyber Yetis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You think that those hackers were going to use that knowledge for good?
No,
No,
they were
Not at all.
Guys.
Yeah.
Win the Cold War. Probably.
Yeah. Make the planet even colder and war-ier.
Yeah.
That's an interesting interpretation of the Cold War, where the Americans were just fighting to keep the Earth hot. Which actually, yeah, I can see
Kind
that.
of how it turned out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do the real history for that one too, and it still comes down to Cyber Yetis.
So, listeners, before we leave, this episode's coming out October 1st, which means there's still time to make your way over to Syntax Physic Opera, October 3rd at 7 p.m. for the Night of 1,000 Podcasts.
Yeah, if you're listening on October 1st, don't go now.
No, I mean, you can get a good seat, I feel like.
You probably would, yeah.
You might get kicked out
A couple of times between now and the show.
because it's an operating business. And also, don't do that.
Well, you could hide in like the basement
Yeah, that's
or
true.
the ceiling.
I
if
have
you're...
been down in that basement, and it is labyrinthine and creepy.
Perfect. for Spooktacular October.
Did you say October in a Russian accent?
Yeah, maybe.
October.
Maybe, I don't know. Don't ask questions you can't answer.
Can't answer anything but a Russian accent.
Well, of course. I'm also so proud of us that we got through this without... We referenced Yakov Smirnoff, but we didn't do any Yakov Smirnoff type.
The thought was crossing my mind constantly.
Oh, mine too. I was trying to force it, but I decided to be more like the Cyber Yeti within. But come down to that show. There's going to be a lot of amazing podcasts there. Empty Girlfriend, Whiskey and Cigarettes, Ice Cream Social, Broadcast Geeks. It's going to be a great show. It's at 7 p.m. and it's totally free. So come check that out. It's going to be amazing. Before we leave, Kira, you host Sunnyside Brouhaha
Yes, I do.
at Diebold Brewing. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that?
It's a comedy show at a brewery. It's real cool.
Sort of left that open
Yeah.
to that one.
That's every third Friday at 8 o'clock. And I don't have my lineup confirmed, so it'll be out there by the time this goes up, but I have no idea. It'll be a surprise for next month.
But it's always fantastic. It's a great show.
It is. It's a really good room. And it's free.
Yeah, so go check that out because it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
And then
I also run a blog called Oddmosis, ODDMOSIS.com. It's real fun. There's, pictures and stuff on there.
Visual entertainment.
the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah, it's a lot like the internet.
Sometimes there's words.
Sometimes both.
Wow. The 1-2 punch.
Double threat. Mm-hmm. Well, Kira, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks again.
Zach, thank you as always.
Of course.
Before we leave, listeners, also check out our Facebook page, our website, revisionistpodcast.com.
Yeah, and feel free to leave a review on iTunes. We got several new reviews since we last met, one of which was our first wholeheartedly negative review.
Yeah, so thank
stating,
you.
There
You guys
might
are
be a
getting
couple
big.
good episodes in there. Hence giving us 2 stars instead of 1, I guess.
Yeah, I guess because potential.
Yeah.
But listeners, feel free to do any of that. For everyone here at The Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
Have a good time.
Ah.
Kira MagCalen.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was
keep
supposed to say
fucking up the
goodbye.
outro.
I think you
No.
mean have a spooky time.
Have a spooky time.
Great.
Ooh, bye.
Bye, wolves, blah, garlic.